And welcome to the World Gaming Trade Show. I am your host and the man behind the In-Game Boss program and Network Gaming and other variety shows and the podcast In-Game Boss podcast, Jeremy, along with my boy Brando from the Game Addict podcast, once again united as one as we do a monthly show. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. It's good to be back here on the old program here, and talking about some old games here on the show. What we do is we take a couple of old games you haven't heard of in a while, games have been kind of collecting some dust, and that no one else is doing anything with, and we try to find ways to bring them into the modern age of gaming, whether that's with a reimagining, whether that's with just a dust off, bring it back, and we're going to find out who we are going to pick to try and develop these games. We have done a slew of these episodes with a bunch of games that we've discussed, including things like Shadowrun and Snatcher. We've done that one. With trying to remember which all the ones we've done.
Vendetta and Radiata Stories we've done. We've done Metal Storm and Soul Blazer. We did Beautiful Joe and Soul Reaver.
Beautiful Joe's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. That we talked about.
Yes, that was a great episode. Shatterhands and your pick, I forgot at the time. I apologize, but it's from our last month one. Definitely go check that out. We also, like you said, Shadowrun and my Snatcher. We done Musashi. We done a Star Wars theme. We done our extreme themes with 1080, Excite Bike, and Wave Race. And of course, this month, as you're listening to this episode, we actually did Kung Fu and Duck Hunt. That was this month. That was from last year. So please go check all of those wonderful
A little
episodes.
Early NES theme for that one.
Yes, but this one here, we're going to use our heads and take on cars, because this pick is going to be quite interesting on this one. With my first pick, that is actually dedicated to my boy Jerron. He is my co-host of the In-Game Boss podcast, and he loves this series. Maybe love is a strong word. He enjoys this series because we had a giant debate on who should be on the next Smash Brothers character to be unlocked, and we picked two characters here, and we knew they're not going to make the cut. Like, trust me, like, they're in the bottom of the barrel of picks. But he picked this character while I went with Earthworm Jim. And I know I told this story to Brando. He agrees with me, Team Earthworm Jim over here. But we're going to talk about this big head character by the name of Bonk.
楽しくなければゲームじゃない。続いて噛んで大車輪。超元気印 PC 原人2.
And if you don't know who Bonk is, he's basically or BC Kid for anybody else that knows by a different name, but he is a caveman kid with a huge head, and he was originally on the Turbo Gafx, and later on the NES, and then further on to Super Nintendo, and for not, and then he kind of went to a halt after a game got canceled that was coming out for the PS3 and Xbox 360 at the time, and from then, he hasn't been around. He's only been talked about, through old videos of people doing nostalgia and all this stuff. But my buddy wanted to do this, and I said, I'm going to do an episode about Bonk, and I'm going to tell you what I think we can do to bring Bonk back and how would he be fun. So, and then after we talk about this display game, then I let my boy Brando bring out his game he wants to display about. But let's go ahead and get into Bonk. So let me go first, shall I? So, as you know, Bonk is a platformer game. He uses the power of his head to kill everybody, right? He uses, like, when he jumps in the air, his head is so big that, it weighs him down. So, like, when he jumps and he wants to kill somebody, he smacks him right with his forehead. Just, like, boom! Like, he's upside down with it. Like, it's pretty ridiculous, but it's pretty funny. As he's going through the, 10,000 BC or the caveman time, dealing with dinosaurs and all this kind of stuff. And he deals with, like, fruits that give him energy. He gets meat that gives him different transform to his forehead to do different stuff. And crazy enough, this was a Konami game / Hudson. A lot of people forget that this is the same developers, I believe, that also did Bomberman. I want to say, I'm not 100% sure. I could be 100% wrong on that, but it's still published by Konami. So when I think of what we can do with Bonk, I think that we can't do too much. I think we still got to stay with simple, but just try to get more creative of what he can do. I feel like when I see Bonk in his games, I feel like we're not seeing the things that I think Bonk should be doing. You know, I feel like it's too simple. Like, why are we not having crazy things that he can do with his head? Like, sure, you know, he can breathe the fire, he can do wind, all this stuff. But I'm talking about, like, he goes a little bit more crazy. Now, I remember in Super Bonk on Super Nintendo, you know, he goes to different transform. Like, he could be like a half lizard, half big head and stuff. That's a little too ridiculous. I think we need to just draw that back a little bit and kind of give it a nice reboot. A nice cartoon Saturday morning kind of look. So I looked at Way Forward to take over this one. Way Forward seems like they're the good ones because, you know, they did Shantae, they did Duck Hunt. You know, that was really cool to look at. Contra 4, you know, and another game that they did was Double Dragon Neon. So they take those old school NES and they flip it around and make it their own. And I like Way Forward. They're my jam, you know. So I was thinking, man, make this kind of animation like a Saturday morning cartoon. This would be hilarious to me. And some of the things you could do with it is what his power-ups. Of course, you know, the fruits and, you know, bananas and stuff can give him a certain amount of health and whatnot. But it's the meat that should be really there for you, right? So different creatures you eat the meat, you know, you get maybe a power of a giant head. And he can, what about him just bashing through enemies like he's a football player, bashing through walls? Like, we don't see that in Bonk. Like, he should be just going fast at these guys. I want to see that as he's going through these levels that also can split into different paths. So depending what power-ups you get, they can take you on a different path as long as you get to the main goal. Kind of reminds me of like Mega Man 6, where there's a fake boss and a real boss, but you have to have the certain power to do that. And so other power-ups, like, you know, he can, like, maybe he can eat a chili pepper and then he starts breathing fire instead of his meter powering up and then he can shoot fire. What about something ice cold? So when he eats something ice cold, you know, his forehead gets cold, and then when he bunks, you know, ice can fill out everywhere. Now that is actually in the game, but I don't think they do too well. Like, let's get him, you know, a brain freeze. Let's get some kookiness going on. I want to see him feel the pain that he is going through when he's eating these particular items. And then why is he not rolling like a ball? Like, how big is his head? You know what I mean? Like, he should be tripping and rolling a ball. Now, that should be a power-up to me, where either there's a hill and he's just rolling down and he's knocking people out. Like, I feel like the levels need to be more of just arcade-ish and just keep going and going. Like, at 60 frames per second, just going through everything. And, of course, you know, just going through the level, defeating dinosaurs and stuff. It should be that simple. No crazy boss or anything that he's the one behind all the scenes of anything like that. Just him just going through the motions. That's all I want to do with Bonk. What's your take on that?
I like it. And I want to say that, you know, we don't tell each other. I want to tell the audience, we don't tell each other who we pick. Before we don't get into this, we don't. Like, the only thing we tell each other is what game we are picking. Of course, your pick for Jerron was Bonk. Mine was a different one. And I also picked Way Forward. This doesn't happen very often here on the show, but every once in a while we are kind of along the same lines. I told you before we got on the air that I had a little bit of trouble with this one because I didn't play too much Bonk. At all. Like, literally have never sat down and played Bonk other than firing up a ROM just to see what you do. Because I've seen video of Bonk, but, you know, man, I had to figure it out. Well, anyway, I only had a couple of ideas. I liked Way Forward because of their stylistic, especially in some of the stuff that they've done with Shantae and how they make that look. And also some of the level design stuff that they've done with Shantae as well. As you said, some different paths. How cool would it be to use Bonk's head as like a hammer to like hammer in some nails?
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. And you have
that sounds amazing.
Opens up a new pathway.
Yeah.
Or you said a giant head. I went. Do you remember? I don't remember which Mario game it was, but you got the giant mushroom and he became a huge Mario and you just steamrolled through the whole level. Like, imagine getting the power up, and literally the whole screen is Bonk's head just going thunk, and it's like a huge atom bomb of a boom, and everything on screen just dies, you know. Or, as you said, kind of a similar idea, but I came up with like a bowling ball. Like hitting enemies and then just like having like bowling pin sound effects, like having it more fun and more crazy. I racked my brain for way too long trying to think of ways you could bring it into a 3D platformer, and I'm like, you shouldn't. And that's as soon as I said you shouldn't, I'm like, all right, who should do it? And I'm like, my first gut was Way Forward, and I didn't look anywhere else because I'm like, I think this is some of the best guys. Now, I looked up the most failed mascots, video game mascot characters. Bonk ranks on Screen Rants of top 20, number 2.
Wow.
He is all the way number 2. What I actually thought was kind of interesting is that number 4 was Socks the Cat. and I can't remember, was Socks the Cat actually featured in an episode? That was a lost episode of our show, right? Did we lose that episode?
No, I don't think we ever did Socks the Cat. I don't think we ever did because he play the president's son? I mean, president's pet, right? Socks the Cat.
Oh, what episode was it that was a cat?
Rocking Cat.
Rocking
Cat. Yeah, he was a jazz cat. Yeah, no.
Jazz cat.
Yeah.
Socks cat, jazz cat. Come on, man.
But he's not wearing a hat in the picture, is he?
No, he ain't. No, he has sunglasses. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Different gimmick. But they got stuff on here like Cool Spot and Jersey Devil.
Cool Spot. I need to do an episode of Cool Spot. Cool Spot needs some love. We need to give him a Cool Spot. We need to do one of him one of these days. Anyways.
But yeah, Punky Skunk. Wild Woody made me laugh.
It's funny. Bubsy's more popular still than Bonk, and Bubsy fell off quick, but he's more popular than Bonk.
Wild Woody is a pencil with, yeah. Never heard of that one. But number 1 was Bubsy. But no, Bonk's been everywhere. Bonk, as you said, started on like the Turbo Graphics, and then got some ports. Got some different versions of Super Nintendo, NES, NES Bonk's Adventure, and then you had like Game Boy, and there was even a game on like the GameCube that kind of had like a remake type aspect, and some of the artwork on the GameCube was actually pretty neat for the background, like some really cool looking artwork for that. And I just kind of feel like if you're going to do a new Bonk, the best way to do Bonk is to appeal to the possible old school retro gamers with it. Because if you're going to do a whole new Bonk, you're going to it's going to fail. It's not going to resonate. The best way to do it is to try and capitalize on the people who already know who Bonk is and try to spread the word of Bonk. And I don't think he should be in Smash.
No,
I mean,
no.
I get why you would want a gameplay wise with Smash. Like you use the head, Bonk.
He's more better of an assistant. He's a good assist trophy.
Sure.
That's all I could put for him.
I still think Earthworm Jim is a better pick.
Oh hell yeah, hands down. If Gerard's watching this episode, hands down, Earthworm Jim is better.
Buddy.
But that's why I think that it should be. What makes it stand out is not trying to be that 3D kind of look, 2D 0.5. It should. It needs to be something that shouts out. Like DuckTales stand out to me compared to the other one because it looked like an animated cartoon show.
Yes.
And I think Bonk really needs that to make himself stand out from any other platformer, because that's the problem with Bonk through all these series is that there was too many platformers. Bonk was just among the discount bin of mascots 2D platforms. He wasn't doing any different. The reason why Earthworm Jim to me stand out more because he was weirder and he stood out more. He was a platform, but he had a gun. He had the weird world. We don't even know what the hell the world is. That cows in a junkyard. I don't know what that is. But Bonk is just a cave boy in a prehistoric world. It's basically Adventure Island with a big head. You know? So you're not doing anything out there. But if you can just lean on it with the Saturday morning cartoon and really make it like a spectacle of just crazy stuff with the pow noise or whatever you want to do, I think it can really hold itself up of something really amazing for what it is. At least it tries something new, because even though we saw the remake for the PS2 and the GameCube one, it was there, and that's what it felt like. It was there. It didn't do anything to change the wheel of it. But here, They could do that. And I like what you said, like using a head for a hammer, or you can use his head for different things, like a weight thing. Like maybe he can use something to open up a gate or open up something, or he has to jump somewhere high to bash a couple of rocks in to get to somewhere. Like his head is not being utilized. It's almost they have the keys to the car, but they just don't know how to drive it.
When you mentioned knock down walls, it made me think of Donkey Kong Country. You're getting on like the rhinoceros, and like busting through there, get to a bonus level area or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, for anybody that's watching this, please leave a comment down below. Tell us what you think, and what do you think of Bonk, and what direction it should go. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Brando? But we'd like to hear your thoughts about it. And with that, I'm going to turn my keys over to Mr. Brando for our next pick.
So my next pick for this episode is Driver. Now, I've been thinking about Driver quite a bit, and that's because this is airing here. Well, just this past fall, the definitive edition of the Grand Theft Auto trilogy came out, and that took me back to 2001 when I first played that, because I didn't play the first two Grand Theft Autos until way later, but GTA 3 was my first one, right? Well, that GTA 3 it does what it brought the GTA 1 and 2 formula to the 3D. But what did it kind of feel like? It felt like a bigger and better Driver, right? Because Driver was the first game that allowed you to kind of free roam and drive a car. Not so much a race, but then you had a story mode where you went through and you had to be precise. And there were like, you had to be at time. I remember the worst thing about the first Driver is trying to pass that damn test before you can play the damn game.
Oh, I wish that was just a tutorial, and then if you don't want to do the tutorial, just go. Oh, that's oh man.
Anyways, Driver 2 sold less than the original Driver. Did you know that?
I heard, and I don't know exactly why. I don't know if the game was just too long or it just didn't control better. I don't know. But I will say this though, like I don't know if you agree or disagree with this, but Driver has gone through, with a pun, a lot of different turns with this series. It has been, each one I think has been made by a different developer. Each one, and there's so many of them that you forgot exist among the miniature ones, like your PSP and the Game Boy. I mean, Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. But yeah, man, the Driver is an interesting series.
Okay, yeah. So Driver 1 and 2 are the ones that I played the most, and Driver 2 knocked it out of the park because you were able to switch cars, to get out of your car, go get a different car, find secret cars. Each city had their own secret car for you to go find. And you drove until you wrecked a car completely, or until you got arrested or something. Because you had a damage meter and a felony meter. So playing the GTAs kind of got me back into thinking about Driver, because I needed to pick a game and send it to you. I'm like, I'm gonna do some research about Driver. When was the last Driver? When did that come out? And it's been a little while ago. It was, I believe, it was for the PS3, 360 era. San Francisco, I believe, was the last mainline Driver game, and that one.
Actually, no. The last one I did my research on, it was a phone game, but actually, it was a phone one. But before that, it was a 3DS or 2DS, one of those.
Okay, so like the last main console one was San Francisco, and there was a phone or a mobile handheld thing. So Driver 3, what they tried to do with Driver 3 was compete with the Grand Theft Auto. After Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City came out, it really revolutionized what that genre was. And Driver decided to try to compete for that marketplace with Driver 3, and it sold better than Driver 2. But it also received worse reviews. The irony is that they kind of went away from that and went back to basics with the next Driver game. I believe it was Parallel Lines or whatever the one was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going off the top of my head, no notes. And the game got much better reviews than Driver 3, but it sold worse. So this game has been up and down, having trouble finding and keeping an audience as it struggles with its own identity at times. So I'm thinking that today it cannot be Grand Theft Auto.
Okay.
Because you have other games that are Grand Theft Auto-like.
It's a genre. It's basically its own genre now.
It is its own genre, but like you have games that are like I pity like the guys that worked on Watch Dogs, because every single Watch Dogs game sounds like it's a cool game, and it just doesn't really seem to find an audience. It doesn't really seem to catch on.
Fun fact, if you knew this, but San Francisco, the gameplay in that game did a lot of influence for Watch Dog. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
San Francisco, the Driver San Francisco lets you switch cars instead of just getting out and getting a new car. Let you just like zoom into a new car, kind of like what they would do with GTA 5 and switching characters. Kind of, kind of neat how those two have like a similarity but different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking we need to keep this more driving oriented because the name of the game is Driver, not Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, we're going to go after this driving audience. So we're not going to go straight back to basics, but it's not going to be a racing game, but it's going to be a driving game. And when you go back to Driver, you have like 1 and 2, you had multiple cities. We're going one city. And the reason why we're going one city is that we're going to pick like New York. Let's just pick New York. It can be New York. It can be Chicago, whatever. But the whole story of the original Driver and Driver 2 is that he was an undercover cop. And he's getting in to be this driver to get to be an in. So that's what we're going to kind of do. We're going to kind of try to revive that a little bit. It's going to be like a little bit of a mixture of a redo or remake / reboot, because we're not going to completely redo the original story, because this is going to take place in one city. And the reason why I want that is that I want to try to get the first game that gets a city accurate map.
Okay.
Like we see big maps, we see all sorts of like. I want this to be as city accurate as you can make it. So imagine how big the world would be if it was just accurate in New York City. The other thing that I want to have, and this is something that's taking some inspiration from a game like Fortnite, but things change within the map.
Okay.
Road construction. Imagine you've got to do this mission, or you got to be driving real fast going through, and all of a sudden the road's closed. You didn't know the road was closed, but it makes you improvise.
Let me ask you on that. So just so I can kind of get an idea, and for the listeners, were you talking about the construction is happening like on a certain day, or is that happening on the mission that you select? When you select a mission, then everything's lined up for it? Or is this something where like, it happened to be on a Monday during real time, and that's the day I do construction. But if I waited 24 hours, then that might have been cleaned up, and then I do it?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Not necessarily mission specific. See, and that's where like the original games were mission specific hazards or anything. Like you had to be precise.
Okay.
And yeah, we're gonna have some of that, but I want there to be more random kind of thrown in there too, to kind of throw you off your guard, because you're not gonna have to pass a driving test to play the game.
Thank you.
You're gonna have to learn. Nope. But you are gonna have to learn how to play. You are gonna have to learn how to be good, because that was part of it. The game series that spun off from Driver, Stuntman. Did you ever play Stuntman?
No, but I remember it was a big game. It went so big and it dropped. Like, no, Stuntman just fell off. but it hit the perfect window at the time, and then after that, they just couldn't follow it after that. But yeah.
Well, what they tried to do was recapture what kind of the magic that they caught with Driver, and it kind of worked for the first game. I'm not sure what happened to it after that. It's the only one I ever played, because in Stuntman you have to do these scenes and things with a car, and what do you need to do? You need to be precise.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's precise to a fault, because if you did one mistake, and you had to do this like long take type deal, then you messed it whole up. You have to do it all over again. Some people get frustrated with that kind of stuff. That's where I kind of want there to be a level of improvisation to help you kind of get through the game on that aspect. So we're not going to go so much to the point where we're going to be leaving our car to go do other stuff, because this is a driving game. We're going to be driver. That's what we are. We are the driver. We're not getting out of the car. We're not ordering food. Okay.
So no Ubers. There's no Ubers in this game.
Maybe you are. Maybe you are an Uber driver. Okay. Maybe that's just what you are. Maybe once you beat the game and you're like, now you're like suspended. Okay. So maybe like you help solve the case, but you cause so much damage that in order to just let this fly under the radar, Tanner or whatever the character's name is has to go on suspension, and it's really just for like the publicity, like for the papers. Hey, the officer, he's gonna have to answer for it, but really behind the scenes are like, hey, good job on that. Just lay low for a little bit. So what do you do after game where you can go free roam? You're an Uber driver. I'm just saying. I think that'd be funny. Anyway, no. But I really like the idea of interactive maps and having some stuff that changes and throw you off. I like the idea of taking it back to that where you're driving. And that's one thing that would be really cool as well, by having one map, and it's a big map. I mean, if you're able to get the accurate map and have it be that big, free roam would encourage you to learn the city. It would encourage you to learn the map. That way, when there would be some curveballs, some road construction, I did this on a Wednesday and it caused this, and I'm like, it messed me up and pissed me off. But if you'd learn the map, maybe you'd know there's a couple other routes around that. You know.
Okay.
And of course, in modern days, we got GPS, we got Google Maps in our phones. So like you'd be able to, like, it would try to redirect you and reroute you. So like you could use that kind of aspect as well. Driver to me is something that, you know, when I went through all this and I'm trying to figure out who's going to develop this, you know, I try to find a good mix, somebody who's good at making simulation, because simulation is tight and precise. We talked about this off air. Sometimes it feels like it's too clunky. You're driving a tank. I'm trying to keep this car on this track or on that little like, hey, line, this is where you should be line, but I'm not that good because this car is anyway. But also, it's got to have some floatiness to it, some arcading that feels as well. And I'm like, man, do you remember that game Blur? I liked that game. It was on 360. Guess what? Company that made that, the developers made that, they're gone. They're doing other stuff. That team does not exist anymore. So I got frustrated about that. But shout out to Blur. If you've never played Blur, go check out Blur. I thought that was a pretty cool kind of arcade.
That was a weird time because there was a lot of these race car games that were close to that. Because Juice, I believe, was around that time too.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Blur was developed by Bizarre Creations, published by Activision. There was only one real title, and there might have been like some other games that were like going to come out after that. Maybe there was a mobile game or something, but Blur no longer exists, or neither does the developers. So I settled on Slightly Mad Studios, and Slightly Mad, they have made both kind of like arcade style and simulators. So here's what they've done. They've done a couple Need for Speeds, or at least one. They did Need for Speed Shift, and they've done Test Drive, and they've done Project Cars and Fast and Furious or something like that.
Okay.
So like the reason why I picked them is because they focus on driving. Yes, it's more racing oriented, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And so like a game like Test Drive. Test Drive is a game, game series I haven't played in a long time, but it made me think of those kind of cool like arcadey style games, and you could find this neat little balance between there. And I feel like maybe these guys could probably do it. I mean, they've been able to curate a brand new not genre, but a new title within this whole like sim project cars. Like, man, when you're trying to compete with Gran Turismo and Forza, good luck to anybody. I remember when they tried to come out with Drive Club. You remember that?
Yeah.
And it just fell flat in its face. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But they've done that, and they've done a Need for Speed game. You know, they've kind of been around the horn. And if you're going to make a driving game, you might want to get somebody that makes car games, and let the Grand Theft Auto guys do that, because how many titles have been tried to be that? You know, we already mentioned Watch Dogs. You know, Sleeping Dogs, or a True Crime series. It tried to do that, and
yeah,
there's just The Getaway. Do you remember The Getaway?
Yeah, and I really tried hard to get away from that game.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. But when it came out, like, everybody was clamoring for more of that, more of this, more of this, and Driver even tried to be more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've been, the Rockstar's to the point where they're making other games that are Grand Theft Auto like, but they're doing Grand Theft Auto in the Old West. You know, so it's like they've got that works really good. Like, let them do that. Let them do that kind of game. With Driver, let's bring it back to basics. Let's make it about driving in your car and trying to be good at it.
Okay. Okay.
I'm interested to hear what you got to say.
Okay. I went a little different direction on mine.
Cool.
I actually would say reboot the series. I don't want any connection of the old ones. I think we should just start from something new. I actually picked a fictional city because I think that way we don't have to worry about too much landmarks, and you can kind of just have more fun with it. And you can make the city any way you want. You know, you can have a beach side, you can have a heavy city side, whatever you want. I would think that would be a little bit more cooler. And I picked back to the basics to, like, let's do a simple story. Like, we don't need to do this crazy over the top. In the San Francisco edition, the main guy goes into a coma, and he dreams this city where he's still a driver, which is like, that sucks. Your coma dream is what you do in real life. And his ability is he can hop to different cars to stop the bad guy or whatever. And I'm like, that's cool. It is what it is. But it's a little over the top, and it doesn't make sense to me of the driver. It's almost like they were trying too hard to be fun with it. And I'm like, you should just call it something else. But anyways, I think we should go like you and I both agree. Like, it should go back to the beginning, and it should be a simple story. Now, you were saying that you want the main character to be an undercover cop.
I think it's kind of cool to try to get into and you could either you could have it be like organized crime or anything like that, but you could also have it be like a more modern take, like a undercover cop trying to get in with like a Fast and the Furious type group or ring or street racers or whatever. Yeah. So
I want to combine both of those together, but I want to put it in a different kind of view. And I wanted this, I think the idea I have, I think will be pretty cool. If I'm telling you now, if it works out, then I spoiled it for you. But if this happens, you've never seen this show, maybe you'll be surprised later on. What if you are a criminal character that's showing the new ropes of a new person that's learning to do the job that you're doing, right? So he joins you on this journey, and you're teaching him how to drive and all this stuff. You're still the driver, but you're teaching him the ropes. He's basically your partner, and he's learning organized crime. But what you probably didn't know is he's an undercover cop. So, you know, he's witnessing you doing all these criminal things and everything, and then stuff gets interrupted, you know, and you know, later in the first half is that, in the second half he's a cop, and then that changes the story. Now he's coming after you with the police and everything like that. I think that'd be an interesting thing because you're a criminal and you got an undercover cop that is your partner that betrays you. You know, I think it's simple and fun that way. You know, that way you get the tutorial of like, this is how you do this and this. Not in the garage. No garage for both games. No garage. None of that. Okay. We learn in the streets. Get in the car, we drive. Okay. So I thought that would be a simple thing. And then I was also wanting destruction. Like, the game gotta have destruction. Like, I got to have it. I can't be seeing a bar and then bouncing off the bar. I can't. No, it needs to be falling down if I hit it. And then something hit me. I went on Watch Mojo and watch a bunch of stuff on YouTube, and I watched What are the best car chases? I want some of the famous car chases in his own way to be in this game. The Italian Job. The part where they are going through the sewers, to get away with all this. That could be an awesome mission, right? The French, I think it's the French Connection.
Connection.
Yeah. The car scene going after the train. To go rescue like a buddy or something that's getting away from the cops or something. They told you meet you at rendezvous. That'd be awesome. Ronin, the briefcase scene of driving through the traffic and going through the tunnels and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, those are, I think it'd be so awesome to see those get reference or a mission that's based off of that. And I say go crazier. What about a car chase going off of building roofs? Like just hopping the roof. I think that'd be so much fun. But I want the construction of, yes, you might have a meter of how much damage you did or whatever you want to do. But I just want to see, going through like through the mall. That's another one. I want the Blues Brothers going through the mall chase. How awesome would that be in the fictional city of you getting chased and someone says, take a left here, you're going right through the mall, and then you just secretly hear that song, and then you hit that boombox that was playing it, and then you move on. I don't care. I think that would be fun to just kind of do a fun reference to what makes Driver fun in that arcade-ish way for depending on the mission you have. I do like it's life. The city is alive, so anything could happen on whatever day you decide to do this. So I'm down for that. And I think the last thing I want to say is the developers I think could do this is Avalanche Studios. And they are known for your Just Cause, Mad Max, Rage 2, because their driving is very arcade-ish in a fun way if you have played any of those games.
Yeah.
Without even having someone out the car. Mad Max, it's really about the car more than you getting out of the car. Yes, you go out of the car and you're doing your thing, but you're upgrading your cars and all that kind of stuff. And that's what you could do in this game. Customize your car, upgrade your car, make it more stronger, make it more faster, gear it up, give it your color, make your own graffiti on it. I don't care, but I think that Avalanche can do that because with Just Cause, they show what you can do with their destruction of just terrorizing stuff, explosives, Michael Bay it everywhere. I don't care, And then you have Rage 2. That's the same thing. It's still upgrading your car, and then you're going to first-person shooter, everything. Give or take, they have done enough where a car is a very key thing in their gameplay. And so this is, I think, is a perfect place for them to do this, especially Ubisoft owns or guess who runs this, and they need somebody to take the keys. And Avalanche has dipped in, as I mentioned those three games, they have dipped into different publishers. Bethesda, right? Like they're not afraid to dip into stuff and try to take on this challenge. So I think that's what I want from Driver. Back to the basics, but just make it more memorable. You know what I mean? So,
and I like the idea of like commemorating or trying to adapt some of these cool car chase scenes, because when I was talking about precision with Driver, like they were trying to do some really cool car chases, and sometimes you were too wrapped up in it to really like admire it. Yeah, because you're too busy doing it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for sure, yeah.
Okay.
When I play these old GTAs that I've been playing, and you have to chase something, it's less about the chase and more about the object, like the goal. Mm-hmm. Whereas Driver was more about the chase and like in and out of traffic and everything. Yeah. And I think we should get back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the moments. Like Driver just needs more moments to me to really shine. Like you said, you're too busy trying to drive, so make those driving better moments. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Well, and like you could definitely take a break in the game, because some other games do this where like they slow it down and let you kind of see what's kind of going on, and then they give you a chance to get back into it and be all like tensed up again, and like they let you like really admire the moment and enjoy it rather than just be so built up on getting to the end.
Yeah. especially if the idea that if it works for me personally of the undercover cop working with you as a criminal, that you're slowly realizing he's reporting stuff in, but he has to keep a low ground for what it is. And these moments happen when a mission is like not going off right. You're not going right to a mall and crash through it, right? You're going to go pick up something. Maybe the undercover cop called the cops to tell me over here so we can make this arrest and get them, but you're so good that you outrun them, and then you get these moments.
What would you say? Because the one thing about the old driver games that was really punishing was the man, you're in this chase, you're doing this, and then you mess up, and then you have to start all over again, right? That is one thing that kind of really, especially if you're going to have a long, intense chase scene. What would your thoughts on being either a very forgiving checkpoint system, or B, something like they put into Forza Horizon where you're able to kind of like rewind a little bit to like kind of like, oh man, I messed up, let me fix that real quick. And it's that way it's more fun to play and a little bit more forgiving.
I am down for both because you want to enjoy the moment for what it is, right? If you die, you do it again, the moment dies, right? Because you're doing it over again. You know what you're going to crash into. There's nothing new that's going to come in the way. It's not like split second. Like, it's not going to... it's kind of like split second. Everything is just set. It's a set piece. And you don't want to keep setting those set piece over and over again. And definitely no quick times. No quick times in this game. But anyways, I agree with you. I would like a checkpoint or the rewind that you can go on. Because if you rewind, then your character can narrate like, no, that's not how it went. And then you fast forward again. and then you play it again. And you're like, no, that's not how it went either. Let's try it one more time. So it went like this.
If we go your way, how like the undercover cop kind of betrays the dude, the whole game could be told in like in the interrogation room.
There you go. That works really well.
The whole game is a flashback. And then it could like that could work that into the actual like narrative where he like no hold up.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah,
like that.
I think that would be amazing to see for that. But the most important thing is they got to get the driving down really, really well. Like, it got to be tight. And I am down for different cars doing different things. So, like you said, like, maybe you could hop into another car if it doesn't work out, but that car's not any better, So I'm down for them to know the cars that you're driving. Just know the specs of this one can probably hold more, it can deal with more damage, but it drives slow or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, I think that would just make it really nice. Now, the question is, though, for you, what is the driver's starter car? Are we going back to the bullet car? Or is there another car that you would like him to start out with?
I don't know, man. I think that'd be a neat little callback.
Okay.
Just on a gut reaction. I think, a neat little callback. Get that old muscle car,
Yeah.
I think it would be cool if you're going to start it like with the dude showing the undercover cop, like you don't have to do the garage, but it starts in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows the undercover cop doing parts of that, and he's like, all right. It seems like you got it. Ride with me. And so like have it start there, and it's just be a little different. Because I don't want to do that garage, and I know you don't want to either.
Now, there's one more question before I wrap this up. Have you thought about what other tasks they can do in this game for fun? Now, you said Uber driving. I get that. But maybe like street racing? Could this person do street racing? And maybe he could bet cars and win the cars, and that he can have those cars in his collection? Like, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, like that would allow like my pick, the developer, to kind of flex the racing muscle a little bit. Mm-hmm. Be able to have like some real dedicated spots of the map that they could, even though they're map accurate, be able to, all right, this right here would be a cool little street race, map it out, Yeah.
Okay.
I'm down.
Okay. Awesome. And is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
That's about it, man.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for definitely watching our recent episode, and let us know what you want out of Driver. How should Driver come back to you? You know, who developer do you think should take the keys and drive this to a new direction? But as you know, this is part of the In Game Boss program, Network Game and other variety shows, and also by the Game Addict podcast. So definitely check out all our stuff. But let me talk about my stuff first. Remember, we're on YouTube. You can always subscribe there and check out all our great content that is on there. Along with on Facebook, you can type in the In Game Boss program, or on Twitter at ProgramIn, and check out all our wonderful stuff on there and information of up-to-date stuff and stuff we post from there. And Brando?
The Game Addicts Podcast is GameAddictsPodcast.com, where you can find the podcast, and there's some video stuff over on YouTube as well, and social media is at Game Addicts Play. It's been a little bit of a break. I've been kind of taking a mental break from covering video game stuff, but I'm thinking of, like, you know, kicking it back up in the new year and getting back into it, and maybe revamping how I do the show in a way. Maybe having one episode where I talk more about news and another one more of a deep dive, and kind of doing a flip-flop, or you know, maybe do the news show. It's more of a live stream where I talk about it. So some different ideas kind of going along.
Okay. We'll definitely check out that and the rest of our stuff. And thank you so much. And we will see you next time on the showcase.